Right, peeps, I'm back. Just been for a run. About time too. A first run for about 4 days, and I got an event in 3 weeks. I've hardly done any running at all. I normally do long runs on a Sunday, or I used to, but the last 3 or 4 months, I haven't done anything. I've got to get back into it, peeps. Now, today, we're going to have a quick talk about coping with a bad game week. We're going to talk about how what's happened isn't necessarily what's going to happen, and recency bias and all of those type of things. We're going to have a quick kind of reset and imagine all the players are now on 0 points and what's going to happen in the next 7 weeks compared to what happened in the last 7 weeks. And we might even have a game of 1 minute chess. Although, to be honest with you, I'm playing awful. But I think what I can do is, instead of having a like and subscribe screen at the end, I can just play a game of 1 minute chess as like my exit page. So you can either exit or watch a game of 1 minute chess, because a lot of people, you enjoyed watching that the other day, whether it's just because you like looking at the clocks and seeing who's going to win on time and all that type of thing. But so we'll go and have a quick look. Now, firstly, as we know, I had a shocking game week this week. And it's not so much having a bad game week I didn't like. It's the fact that I have to go and talk about it on the late night lock-in when all I want to do is forget entirely about FPL and just go and play a computer game or go out for a run or go and play golf or any of the other things I could be doing, except talking about FPL when I've had a shocking game week and everyone's telling me to buy Semenyo. So I said to Gary yesterday, I said, look, Gary, I hated that, doing that on Saturday night. I said, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm throwing my toys out the pram. I'm not doing that again. So now I'm only going to go on if I haven't had a terrible game week. If I've had a terrible game week, I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? You can say, oh, that's cheating. You've got to go on and suffer. Why? I only do these things because I enjoy them. And if I'm not enjoying something, then I'm not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? So my way of coping with a bad game week has always been to forget about FPL, and it works. Let's go and do other things. But this is the first time I've had to actually go onto a show after having a terrible game week. And I just didn't like it. That bloody WhatsApp. Go away, phone. Hang on, I'll kick the phone over the other end of the room. Right, so I should have turned it off, shouldn't I, people? I should have muted the pricks. So, right, so we're going to look at the first 7 weeks. Now, what's calmed me down a little bit is looking at this Content Creator League and seeing that I'm still in third, only like 11 points behind Andy, well ahead of the likes of Bakar still, even though he got 91 points this week. I'm still ahead of him. I'm ahead of Praz, who's wildcarding. I'm ahead of Late Riser, who's also wildcarding, I think. Ahead of Ben Krellin, Mark, all top managers, as FPL General, WAG. I'm ahead of all these people. Yeah, I'm feeling like, again, it's recency bias. I'm thinking, like, for example, Bakar's probably really happy this week, isn't he? And I'm like miserable when really, you take the first 7 weeks in, it's just recency bias makes you feel miserable. And it's the same with your FPL teams. When I look at my FPL team, I hate it. I hate that I've got Virgil van Dijk and not Gabriel. I hate that I've got Sanchez and not Pope. I hate that I've got João Pedro and not Voltemada. I hate the fact I've got Fernandez instead of Semenyo, or Reinders instead of Kudos, or anybody except Gyökeres. You know what I mean? Or or not having Tarkowski, or not having Timber, and all those things. You hate your team because it hasn't had any points. It's recency bias. And I'll tell you one thing about the first 7 weeks that's quite kind of noticeable, I think, is that nearly all of us have been carried by our captains. I mean, if you've picked the same captains as me this week, which a lot of you will have done, because I always pick the top choices, which for the first like 4 weeks was Salah, and then for the next 3 or 4 Haaland, then we haven't had a captaincy blank yet, have we? I don't remember having a captaincy blank. And we've been carried by 1 or 2 players, haven't we? I mean, some of you will have been carried by Semenyo. I was carried by Stack of all people. Reinders had 1 or 2 good weeks, I think. Fernandez had a good week. Senesi's had a couple of good weeks. But basically, a lot of the time, most of our players have been blanking, haven't we? I mean, a lot of people started with Rodgers and Watkins and Wirtz and all those players. Just terrible. The Nottingham Forest defenders, you know, the template started really terribly, didn't it? Terribly. Apart from like just 1 or 2. So none of us have been really happy, I think, with our teams. Apart from people that kind of just go with their gut and pick kind of random sort of players have done pretty well, haven't they? You know, the ones who jumped on Ekiteke and Gakpo and other players have done pretty well. But overall, there's been quite a narrow thing. Even this week, people getting 70, 80 points. It isn't really any Semenyo. I mean, the only reason I've done terribly this week is because of 1 player, Semenyo. Shut the fuck up. And I know who that'd be. Those pricks on the pubcast. Probably complaining about me. So I might have to go and move it in a minute, peeps. So so what was I've lost my thread now. So we'll have a quick look at a wild card and see really whether I should be worried about, because I'm saving this week. You know, I don't like my team, yet I'm saving my transfer. And the reason is I want 2 free transfers so I can change my structure. Because if Gyökeres continues to blank, I'm going to want to change him into a 4.5 striker and possibly bring in Semenyo as my 5th midfielder or somebody else. It might not be Semenyo. It could be somebody else. But I'm thinking, or even a 4-4-2, because strikers just aren't doing. I mean, look at this. Not that, this. No. Actually, we'll talk about the wild card for a moment, because look at the top scoring players and look at the wild card everybody's doing. Everybody's getting Pope and Rouse, because Pope's the highest scoring keeper, Ralph's the highest scoring keeper, and they do actually rotate well, because Newcastle and Sunderland never have a home fixture during the same week because of policing and all that sort of thing. So that's why people are picking them. Everybody's getting Senesi, Gabriel, Timber, Alderete, quite a lot of Burns coming in as well. Livramento until he was injured. Midfielders, Semenyo, Caicedo, Enzo, Kudos, Rice. And strikers, Haaland, and nobody wants any other. I mean, you look at this. 2nd place striker, 39. Look at the midfielders. Rice has got more points than the 2nd place striker. Enzo does too. Anthony of Burnley. Caicedo. Kudos has got the same amount of points. And you've got the likes of Cullen, Grealish, Gravenbach. I mean, who on earth at the beginning of the season would have said that none of the strikers, other than Haaland, would have more points than that lot? You wouldn't make it up. You'd have been offered 1,000 to 1 at the bookies or something like that. It's just like inconceivable. Do you know what I mean? And but it's happened. And I tell you what, we all think we know what's happening now, but we don't. We haven't got a clue. None of us. Because if you put all these players now on 0, do you think in 7 weeks' time it's going to look like this? Because people on wildcards obviously do, but I don't. And it probably won't. You know, maybe Haaland will still be the top striker. That's the only thing I think we can say with the most certainty. But even that might not happen. It could be Isaac. We just don't know, do we? We just do not know. I mean, look at last season when I and others were called crazy after 3 or 4 weeks. We were told our seasons were over because we didn't own Haaland, who'd got like hat tricks in every game. But by game week 14, game week 15, it was the people that owned Haaland that were being called the idiots. So things can just change so quickly enough. At the moment, I'm being called an idiot because I haven't got Semenyo. He's on course to be, if he keeps up his current rate of scoring, it would be the highest scoring season ever by anybody, even better than Salah's last season. Is that going to happen? You never know. He could be the new Salah, but the odds are he's not. But at the moment, you get called an idiot if you don't have him. Same as last season, people got called an idiot when they didn't have Haaland. But things can change so quickly in FPL, so quickly. And if you think it's going to look like this in the next 7 weeks, I strongly suspect it won't. But, so if you look at it dispassionately, then these players I have here have just as much chance of coming out in the top of the ranks after 7 weeks starting at 0 as the players that are being wildcarded to. Fernandes. A lot of people getting rid of Fernandes. He's missed 2 penalties. He's been very unlucky with a couple of other. It took a world-class save to stop him getting points this week. He's still a good pick, I think. It wasn't so long ago people were saying he was the best pick in FPL. João Pedro. Game week 6 wildcard. Has he all got João Pedro in? He's played 2 games since. One, they had a player sent off. The other one against Liverpool. Blanked in both. And now everyone wants to get rid of him. Okay, he hasn't looked great. Hasn't had a shot for 5 or 6 weeks. But he's been one of the best performing players in my team over the first 7 weeks. It was all in the first 4 weeks. But now he's having a rest. He's not going to Brazil. He's got 2 weeks off. Time for a reset. Maybe the João Pedro that started the season to come back. We don't know. We don't know, do we? Liverpool, been absolutely rubbish. Virgil van Dijk, who another one who was being called almost essential not so long ago, hasn't looked great. Liverpool haven't looked great. But the manager will know that. He might make a few tweaks. Things might improve. They could come back looking great after the international break. Things don't stay the same very long in football. They change quite quickly. Senesi, everyone's got him. He's been fantastic. Only 1 game he hasn't got defensive contribution points, and that's because he came off early. But as Rob T was saying last night, if you look at historically over the last 3 seasons, no player's got anywhere near 90%. So, is it going to continue? If you look at small sample sizes, when you've got hundreds of defenders, there's always going to be one that gets points, defensive points over the first 6 weeks. But is it going to be the same player in the following 6 weeks? We don't know, do we? We don't know. I mean, one player I'm a bit concerned about is Lacroix here, because Palace could be starting to show signs of suffering after European competition. I mean, they lost to Everton. First game they've lost in 20 matches. Is it a coincidence that it was after a European game where they played their full team? Maybe not. Maybe Europe is going to catch up with Palace. But he could still be a fine pick. Anderson, Fulham aren't looking great. Fixtures aren't great. But he's going to get attacking returns at some point and keep some clean sheets. Happy to have him on my bench, but wildcarders aren't going to have him. In Die, ticking along. Wildcarders, probably not. They're probably going to go with Caicedo, who, to be fair, looks great. I mean, he's got his shooting boots on now. If he keeps that up, then he's going to be really, really good this season, Caicedo. But will he keep it up? We don't know. He might not score again all season, for all we know. Saka come back. I got Saka in this week instead of getting Semenyo. Saka got 8 points, Semenyo got 18. But over the next 6 weeks, is Semenyo going to get more points than Saka? We don't know, do we? There's Fernandes. People telling me to take out Fernandes and get Semenyo in. Next 7, he's comfortably outscored Fernandes in the first 7 game weeks. Is he going to do it in the next 7? I don't think you can say he is. I don't know what the odds would be on something like that, but you wouldn't feel comfortable if you had to stake your life on one of them getting the most points. I don't know who you'd put it on, really. I mean, recency bias, again, plays such a huge factor in people's decisions, doesn't it, and their thoughts. That's why everyone hates this team. Everyone loves the wildcard team because of recent points, and that's all there is to it. But like I said, that table showed the highest scoring players in the first 7 weeks. Probably going to look nothing like that for the next 7 weeks. So wildcards look old pretty quickly, don't they? They can look old pretty quickly. I mean, mine certainly does. Looks absolute rubbish after like 3 weeks. But there's nothing wrong with any of these players. People will be taking out Reinders on wildcard. Good option. I'm quite pleased that people are getting rid of João Pedro and Fernandes. I mean, let's have a look at who people are getting. They're taking out João Pedro. They're getting in Voltemade because he got points, basically. They're taking out Virgil van Dijk and getting Gabriel in. I mean, I won't lie. If I was wildcarding, I'd do the same because I do think Gabriel is going to outpoint Van Dijk, but it's not a given. Honestly, it is not a given. I mean, look at projections. There's not a lot in it. I mean, I don't trust the projections too much, but there's not a lot in it according to them. Saka will be on wildcards. People got a decision to make with Fernandes, but I mean, I'd keep him. I mean, the main reason to keep him is to make way for Palmer. But I tell you what, I saw those pictures. Did you see those pictures of Palmer yesterday when Hato jumped on his back and seemed to injure his groin again after celebrating the win the other day? Showed him grimacing. So I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that he's had an operation on his groin, to be quite honest. But so they're getting rid of him. A lot of people are going to get rid of Gyökeres. That's a difficult decision if you're wildcarding, isn't it? Because, again, small sample size, 7 games, very small sample size. I mean, it could just click with him. Could just click. But I suspect it won't. But which is why I want 2 free transfers so that I can do what the wildcarders are doing and get in a 4.4 striker. Because as we saw before, strikers have been doing rubbish. But again, that could change. Isaac could become a new... Isaac could outscore Haaland in the next 7. We don't know that, do we? We don't know for sure. We saw last season, though. This is the theme of this show, that things can change very quickly. We're going to have a game of 1 minute chess soon, peeps. Bear with me. It's going to be my new exit screen is going to be the 1 minute chess game. So, Sanchez, I'm not happy with him. But why aren't I happy with him? It's not because of what he's going to do. It's because of what he's done. And should I be taking that into account when I think about replacing him or not? Because he got sent off. Next game, someone else got sent off. And they played Liverpool. So, of course, he got no points, effectively. I mean, I think he got -3 in one game, didn't he? And he's got them back in the next 2. So he's effectively got 0. I didn't even play him this week. And might not even play him in the week coming. But if you look at their fixtures, who's to say that the next 7 game weeks he's not the highest scoring goalkeeper? It's not impossible. And I think I would prefer Pope if I was wildcarding. But, I mean, he's not suddenly a terrible pick. I mean, even after getting sent off, he showed that he's well and truly first choice. because Maresca had the opportunity to replace him. But the backup was so awful against Lincoln that Sanchez is safe. He's not a bad goalkeeper. So the point I'm trying to make is you might be looking at your team feeling bad about it, but it's really no worse than wildcard teams, really, in terms of what could happen in the future. I mean, wildcards, I always say, are a double-edged sword. I mean, the game week 6 ones did well because they all got Arsenal defenders in who kept 2 clean sheets. And I think Arsenal are one case where the defence is very desirable. Make no bones about it. I mean, if I was wildcarding, I'd definitely have Gabriel. I even thought this week of using my free transfer to replace Van Dijk with Gabriel. But like I said, I really want 2 free transfers because you can do so much more with them. For example, next week I could take out Gyökeres if I wanted to, take out Stack, do what everyone wants me to do, and get Semenyo in if it looks like I still want him. Play 5 in the midfield. I tell you what, even Wirtz could outscore Semenyo in the next 7. I know you'll laugh, call me an idiot again, and but things change so quickly in FPL. It probably won't be Wirtz, but it could be Rodgers or anybody could outscore Semenyo in the next 7. We just don't know. We just do not know with FPL. And even Esteval. I tell you what, right? You know what? Maresca should really play Esteval and João Pedro together because they're forming a bit of a bromance. They love each other. He's kind of mentoring Esteve at Chelsea. And you forget that João Pedro is only about 22 himself, isn't he? And they're obviously getting along really well. And I think putting Esteval in the starting team with João Pedro would really spark João Pedro up. Do you know what I mean? Like mentally. And he'd play really well. And I think they play really well together. And I don't think we've seen it yet. Esteval keeps coming on as a sub. Well, Mrs. Trigg's just getting up. So I think what we'll do, we'll go on and have that 1 minute game of chess now because I pretty much talk about what I talked about. Oh, yeah, having bad game weeks. That's right. So, like I said, the thing that I like to do is just forget about FPL, basically. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Well, coming on, it's only like 2 or 3 days since the game week finished. And I'm kind of okay again now. But I think I'm playing my own game. So I'm going to have different players than everybody else. And I have to learn to embrace that variance and have bad weeks when others are having good weeks and have good weeks when others are having bad weeks. But it's difficult, isn't it? Mentally, it's not easy, and it's much easier mentally to stick to the herd where you get the same game weeks as everyone else. It's not so. Then they're not criticising you every 5 minutes because they're in exactly the same boat as you are. Whereas when you're different, you get ostracised and criticised. It's been going on since time began, hasn't it? Being different is kind of a bit of a no-no in tribes and stuff generally, isn't it? In evolutionary terms. People that are different tend to get ostracised and all that type of thing. So anyway, peeps, we're going to go and have a game of chess. We don't want to stray into the realms of fantasy. Right, this is my new exit screen. 1 minute chess. You can see I lost my last game. Playing absolute rubbish I am. So this is the new exit screen. So after this game finishes, I will be off. So either watch it or don't. It's going to be very exciting. So here we go. 1 minute game of chess. Keep an eye on the clock. I've got to try and get my mouse moving. It's been very slow today. And that's the other thing. When I'm streaming, I get more lag than my opponents. You've got to try and make them think and use their time up. Oh, he's playing okay, this one, actually. You get 2 different types of 1 minute players. There are the ones that just move anywhere and don't care and just want to beat you on time. He's trying to set me up here. I don't like the look of this. And there are ones that try and play normal chess and beat you on the actual board. I'm going to take that. Can I take that? I think I can. Good, I'm making him think. I've just got to make sure I don't fuck it up. No, I'm thinking too long. Think, move! Idiot. Why am I so slow? I'm going to get rid of that. No, I don't like this much. Oh, I can see a good move. There. Good. No, he's got no attack. And he's losing on time. He's resigned. He didn't even wait, peeps. He didn't even wait. He knew he was going to lose on time. He had no attack. He lost on time. He was slow, thinking slowly. And this is what happened to me this season in FPL. Not moving quickly, not moving on instinct, spending too long making decisions, talking myself out of stuff. Every game week for the last 5 weeks, I start the week off thinking, bring in Semenyo. Take a hit, get Gabriel, Semenyo, cover myself against the herd. That was the first thing I thought last week after my great game week. And what happened? I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and then I go, hang on, Saka's back. Instead of getting Semenyo and Gabriel for a hit, why don't I just get Saka in, get ahead of the template, and do well? Why do I want to copy wildcarders and get Semenyo and Gabriel and be 2 or 3 transfers behind them when I can get Saka in? And that's what I did. And what happened? I lost out by the sum of about 25 points. That's what happens, peeps. But was the decision bad? I don't think it was. I think Saka was a reasonable option. I still think Saka can outscore Semenyo in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we shall see. Equally, I could have made the hit. It could have all been different. And I'd have been thinking, why didn't I get Saka in after he scored a hat-trick? Which, of course, he didn't. But it's good to see he might be on penalties at least. Although even that, we're not sure about, peeps. But that wasn't a very good game, was it? But we're going to do that every stream now at the end, just to end the stream on. So I'll talk to you all later, peeps. I will be back next week. Oh, and I'm on the pubcast tomorrow when we're going to be talking about everything we've learnt this season. And my take will probably be we haven't learnt much because we never do. Anyway, I'll talk to you all later, peeps. Cheers for now. Brekkie time. And I'll talk to you all later. So bye for now then, peeps. And here's the real exit screen.